All right, everyone. We are here. It's 8 o'clock, and we've spent 21 days together in our beautiful quantum field for healing. How are you feeling, Brittany?
I'm feeling pretty good. How about you?
I think it's been a really intense 21 days. I feel great. I feel like I would love to hear some feedback from people that were in the session. I know we've got a couple people that are on. Don't be shy today. This is our day to celebrate our 21 days of intention setting and reflection and healing.
Yeah.
So come on in, guys.
So does anybody want to share an experience?
Let's see. And we've got 2 people on. Can we tempt anybody?
I'm guessing those are Angie and Marge.
Possibly. It's just a cell phone. That would make sense.
Well, I would hope, at least I know my mom has some things she could probably share.
Well, I will start by sharing and saying that I had a really lovely experience with Brittany, and I feel like holding a field with a partner is really quite beautiful because we were able to support each other as well. Because I'm not sure if you guys realize it, but holding a field for 21 days is a lot, because even though you guys don't quite, we're sending healings and everything, but we're also holding a field for you. So that way, as these shifts happen, we're trying to send you energy where it's needed. And I feel like having a partner in that has really helped, because Brittany's been sending and including me on her healings as I've been including her on mine. So I feel like it's been a nice experience. I'm so used to kind of doing things on my own. So it's been really beautiful to have a collaboration. And since so much of the spring equinox energy is about rebirth and renewal and kind of, that evolution of self, I think that this is a really beautiful time to celebrate that right now. We're still in this beautiful equinox energy, which is very beautiful after that very intense full moon. I don't know how everybody else was doing with that Virgo full moon, but it was an intense one. And then the spring equinox has come in with, much softer, much lighter energy, which is nice. We're kind of all feel like, we've done the work. Now we can integrate it and enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing, in that we kind of set this 21 days up to have some integration days, and I think those were really important. And I believe a lot of you have experienced a lot of big shifts also, but Paige and I were right there with you going through the healings too. So I know that we had a lot of stuff come up. So I think a lot of you too are saying you've had a lot of vivid dreams, a lot of like family stuff coming up in dreams, and these are all things that are really normal. And we like to think of this healing path as something that is just all light and it's amazing and it's the easy path, and unfortunately it's not. And those of us that are on it are the ones that have actually figured that out. And you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't really make sense, because I thought I was choosing the path of ease and flow. Well, the path of awakening is not always, you've got to work every day, or not work, you've got to play the right way every day to stay on the path. And so that was our goal to teach you, is you've got to start with all of the things. I was just talking to my mom about this actually, and how you think of ascension, and as your physical body is raising its vibration, you can no longer keep in that vibration things that are of a lower vibration, if that makes sense. So those things are going to come up. They're going to come into your awareness or come up physically. And those are the things where like, oh yeah, I just did this healing this day. Or 5 years ago, I started doing Reiki and I realized like, wow, my life has never actually been exactly the same. and it's normal, it happens. And that's why we kind of create a group event so that we can support each other. And as I said, Paige and I are staying accountability partners, because sometimes it takes that person to remind you, like, why did I actually start to do this again? And then she's like, oh, because of this.
And where there is light, there's always going to be a shadow. If you look at yourself in different times of the day, your shadow will move as you go throughout the day. And that's also our healing work as well, because as we're connected to that central sun and we're integrating this new information throughout the day, our shadow is going to move around us. And there are going to be some days where it's more noticeable, right? And though that's usually when we're, if you think of spirituality almost like, I used to say a rung of a ladder, where you're kind of reaching up and you want to make sure you're not trying to go too far, like you're making it so you can actually, go up. But recently, and I think I posted this on Facebook, some of you might have even commented, we look at our life and we tend to see this circular pattern and we think, I'm in the circular pattern and nothing has changed. But really, it's a 3-dimensional spiral, right? And it's gradual, but we're meeting these shifts and we're integrating, and we keep working on them in different ways. And things that I thought that I had healed 10 years ago, within the last 2 years, have come up for me to be re-healed, but in very different ways. Just going to show you that because I've evolved, my healing has also evolved to the point where I'm getting into the nooks and crannies of those shadows, right? It's not just the blanket statements. It's not just the moving past or just the forgiveness. It's the overall, and it starts to get deeper and more in depth. And it's just like cleaning, right? You can say your house is clean if you picked up everything and just throw it in a drawer, versus actually going in and really cleaning and organizing and decluttering, and the difference in that energy that it feels. You're not going to open the closet door and have a million things fall on top of you anymore. You're just going to be like, oh, this is where I put this, and I'm feeling this, so I know where this comes from. So this needs some attention right now. Okay, let me give it attention. Oh, it feels good. I'll put it back, right? Or maybe, oh, I've outgrown this. Why don't I just pass this along? I don't need it anymore. And we need to start looking at our healing not as an A to a Z, but as a meandering stroll through a forest. It's like there's no beginning, there's no end, there's no ticket. You're not, even if you're walking on a path in the forest, you're not, unless you're like doing mile markers and you're trying to exercise, you're just looking at the trees and the flowers as you go. That's the way it should be.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Hi.
There you are. Okay. I have been listening. It took me a moment to figure out how to turn on the camera.
Oh, we're so happy to see you here. So how has this 21-day been for you?
Well, as I discussed with Brittany a few times, it's a lot harder than what I thought it was going to be.
Intense.
Yes. I thought that I was going to bring things forward that I realized with the distance Reiki and the constellations and things. And I thought that I was going to say, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm going to heal this spot right here, and I'm going to do, and then something else would open up and it would be like, oh my God. Jesus, it was rough.
Yes, there were rough patches, and that means you went pretty deep then.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Exactly.
People always say you gotta clean the pipes out first, right? So all of the stuff has to come out, and then there can be more light. But it's not always an easy process to get it out, because they come into your awareness again and you're like, oh, I thought I did that one already. Like, how many times is this gonna come up? So
right. How many times did I have to go back and do it over and over again? That's what I was doing.
I'm forgetting the word right now, but there's a word for on the yogic path. that we have 2, sometimes 3 very intense karmic relationships that we are coming into this world to heal.
Mhm.
I think it starts with an S. I'll look it up and send it to you guys later. But that those things are the ones that will keep coming up for us over and over and asking to be healed and rehealed in different ways and different layers. And so chances are those were your things that were coming up right now. Those were
Mhm.
whatever was coming up during this. I know I had to, I have my stuff that I'm very aware of, and they, the same old flags came in. Okay, hey buddy, how you doing? Have a seat.
That's true. And also with the constellation where, I thought that I was a strong person. But as the constellations moved us around and said that we were the ones that were hiding and so forth, and afraid of the light somewhat, that I actually had to really listen to that quite a few times so I could help myself. And that made a big difference.
Well, I know for me as well, because we tend to be strong on the outer, but there's always some part of us that is vulnerable. And it's that vulnerable part, right, that will come out in the constellation that will really be wanting to be present and seen, because those of us that are very, with good social IQs, right, we can present well, we can handle the world well, but it doesn't mean that we're completely calm, cool, collected, and confident 100% of the times. And the
Right.
interesting thing about healing is that it will find that shadow aspect, that vulnerable. The third, there's 3 sides to a coin. I always, the first time I had someone tell me this, it blew my mind. There's the front, the back, and there's the edge, right, where all of that blends. And so even if something doesn't necessarily resonate as like, well, I'm strong, like, what does that mean? There's the strong, the weak, and then there's that part in the middle where we're integrating, where there's just a little bit where you can work on it. So remember that it's for the collective, right? For all of us. So there's a small part of all of us, even if we are very all strong, confident women, we still have a very vulnerable side, which needed to be seen and healed. And I think that's the part that Brittany's constellation really spoke to, was allowing that part of us that we don't want other people to see, that we don't want to acknowledge even, because we, as women, especially now, we want to be seen as strong, confident. I have everything together. I'm a good mom. I'm a good wife. I'm a good parent. I'm all these good things, and I can do it all. But the reality is there's a part that's always needing more light, needing more love. And Brittany's constellation really brought that out in a beautiful way. I loved that constellation. It was beautiful. The ancestor one for me is the one that got me personally, Brittany. The ancestor constellation, because when you were talking, actually, and I do a lot of work with ancestors, but I come from a family that, unlike Brittany, whose mom is on this, who's obviously doing healing work, right? I come from a line where no one is doing any work. And so I'm moving a lot of energy for generations before and back. And when you were talking about the ancestors, I was feeling nauseous in my mouth, and I was like, oh wow, I thought we were doing good. Okay. All right, ancestors, let's get there. That's the one for me that was like, gosh, I've done so much work with my ancestors. I've had shamanic constellations, and I've worked with so many different, people on this topic, mainly because I'm here to help shift this energy for my family. That's one reason why I came in here. And it was such a light bulb for me that we're still working on it. We're still not there. We're still fearful. We're still afraid. Okay. All right. And come forward, ancestors. Let's do this. And I could feel the nausea in my mouth before Brittany even said it. And I was like, yep, let's do this.
Yeah, I thought that was cool to hear about. And I think, Mom, we all think we are strong, like Paige said, and it's not that we aren't. But as she said, there's always little parts of us that still need to come up to heal so that we can even be stronger. And I think the staying in the light is pretty similar to me. Light and the divine power, they're pretty similar, except for, I think about when you want to stay in the light, then that's really showing what gifts do you have to actually show the world now. So my mom is also a Reiki master, and I think it's probably, she's kind of doing this, doing that, and she hasn't stepped into actually doing that work fully yet, which I'm guessing that is going to start coming up for her. So it's where in our bodies, in our line, were we told that we shouldn't do that? Maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's, maybe women shouldn't be seen like that. So I think those all went so deep that, and I think it's cool to me that my sister is in this, and my aunt and my mom. So we're healing more.
Such
So it's kind of fun
ancestral
to
healing
be-
is happening for your line. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's cool to see my mom like, oh, okay, I didn't know that about myself. Or it's fun to learn from other healers, and then you realize, oh, I never thought about that. Oh, I didn't learn it that way. I didn't learn this. So it's fun to learn new ways to do all of these things. And I think one thing with healing and energy or Reiki or whatever it is that you do, and my instructor always said, she would say, play with Reiki. And so people, can you do that with Reiki? I'm like, I don't know, but why not? Yeah. So let's try it. So that was really fun.
And it's interesting too. My mentor has brought this up for me too a couple of times, that she's like, I'm going to say something that you've probably heard before. She's like, you've been on this path for 20 years. She said, but don't close yourself off to hearing what I'm going to say, because I might say it slightly differently, and a different part of you that's now healed might resonate with you in a different way, so you can learn more and grow deeper. And I just think that's a beautiful way to look at things. Like when you're really open, when you're really listening, even if it's information that you've already heard before, there's going to be some new frequency in there. If you can, if it's being brought into your field, if it's being said, then there's something in there for you, right? There's a little nugget in there. And so I love how, Marge, I love how you said, like, well, I just listened to it a few times. I knew there was something in there for me. A lot of people would have said, no, I'm confident. That doesn't relate to me at all. No, I'm just gonna, do something else with my time. But there was this beautiful intuitive part of you that was like, wow, that seems so counter of who I am. And it stopped you to actually listen, which means that a higher part of yourself was stopping you and saying, no, 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 no. Listen to this. And you were like, okay, all right, I'll listen.
Also saying, when you were doing the channeling and the first recording, I believe it was so funny, because I heard your speech, your channeling language, while I was working. I heard it while I was sleeping at night. I heard it constantly all day long. I would just, as soon as I would take my energy off of what I was doing at that moment, like at work or something, I could hear that in my mind. And I'd go, oh man, I got to go back and listen to that one more time, because, somebody's trying to tell me something here, and I have to figure out exactly what it is, because it was constantly there. And then with Britt, the other thing that happened is that, well, Brittany knows that Dad and I had to go to a memorial service the other day where Brittany's dad was playing music. And this little girl that I have never seen before came up and asked me if she could sit on my lap. She sat on my lap for an hour and a half.
Children can see energy.
And never left. Oh, she got up to go to the bathroom once, but that's about it. And then and get a pop, but that was it. She sat up, she goes, can I sit here? And I went, sure.
Aw.
So I just think that maybe my energies are changing, in which Britt and I were discussing that the other day too. It's really inspect yourself more, so
Well, and like we said before, Paige and I, when we called people to do this, or we thought, who should we create this for? And it was the people who are constantly helping other people, healing other people. So Paige, you don't know, my mom offers Reiki to everybody ever, every day, all day. And I said, when's the last time you've done a session on yourself? And she's like, remember. So the overgivers, whether you're in a healing modality or not, it's all the same, the overgiving, because we have then forgotten, right? We're giving from a bucket that isn't full. So how do we fill it back up? And whether you do Reiki or not, it's all the same.
Freezing up. Hey,
I see.
hey, Britt, that was sort of freezing up a little bit.
Oh, she was just saying how you weren't giving, you give so much Reiki to other people, but you haven't given to yourself in a while.
Truth.
And I feel like that is something that so many healers, including myself, go through, where we can give and give and give, but the idea of receiving is very, very difficult. And, you know, my mentor kind of described it to me as, you have to breathe in, you have to breathe out. You can't do one without the other. So why would you give healing, give so much of yourself if you're not receiving? You've got to do the intake and the exhalation, or else you're just not breathing, and you can't live while you're not breathing. So you have to remember that balance. Breathe in, breathe out. If you give, receive. And you can practice that in so many different ways, you know, and it can be in subtle ways. Receiving help, you know, clearing the dishes at the table. If someone offers to help, let them help you. If someone offers to open the door for you, let them open the door for you. But also in this, as a healer, you know, like Brittany just said, you can't give if your cup is empty. You have to learn how to replenish that energy. And that's the great thing about, you know, working in groups like this, is because you can work in this, you know, this collective tribe. When I was channeling the totem of the bee, the information that I got was very much so that a hive is a wonderful place for us to be doing healings in as a humanity. Is that, you know, we tend to be very separate as humans. You know, we're kind of in our own little separate worlds, but we're meant to gather. We're meant to have community, and we're meant to have gathering. So, you know, collaborations like this are always going to be good, because there's a group collective of humanity, which we might not even realize we're all connected. But then when you create something like this, we can raise the vibration with each other and help heal in a very, you know, safe environment where we're connected, we're together, we're supportive.
Yeah, I think of it as kind of in two ways that just came to my mind. It's like sometimes, you know, you wait so long to clean your house, or just really you fall behind with something, and then you need someone like your mom to come down to help you dig yourself out of the laundry pile. You got to call in a reinforcement. So healing is the same, in that sometimes then you have to go, the healer has to go to a healer to receive healing, if that makes sense. So I need to go to Paige, or I need to go to you and get a Reiki session. So sometimes you're like, okay, I'm in too deep. I've already fallen back under. Beth always says, I'm stuck again. I'm covered in mud. So she's like, can you help me? So then we have to do something on each other just to get you back out. So that's why I like this, because you have to have somebody who understands what you're talking about, or you're like, okay, now I'm alone because nobody knows what I mean. It's a challenge.
And to also be able to admit sometimes that we need help. I know that's the hardest thing for me, is to admit that I'm not perfect, to admit that I do need healing too, right? That's hard for me. I want to be perfect. I want to be teacher. I want to know everything and do everything, but it's hard to sometimes admit, like, yeah, I want to be supported too. I want to be nurtured as well. And that's part of that breathing in and out. It's just acknowledging, like, it's yes and it's all of these things.
For sure.
Well, one thing I will say to those of you who are watching this on the replay is to keep in mind that after we close this circle, your energy might feel different because we are in a collective right now. And even if you haven't really noticed it, there's been a bubble that we've created essentially for this 21 days for really intense healing. And I'm going to, at the end of this, do a closing prayer to kind of release that and transmute everything into its highest vibration. So that way we can all kind of go back to our daily every day. But remember to be gentle with yourself. You might not feel any difference at all after the circle is closed, or you might have a noticeable shift where you're like, wow, I didn't even realize that I realized that I could feel this energy. And now that it's gone, what do I do? So just remember that tomorrow, as this energy container is closed, you want to take very gentle actions with yourself. I would recommend eating light, and I would recommend drinking as much water. And also, if you can, maybe journaling your feelings and your emotions as you're kind of shifting out. We're in the portal right now of the spring equinox. So this is such an important time to be setting our intentions, right? So we've done a lot of clearing over these last 21 days. We've basically been setting us up for this equinox portal. And now that we're going to close it within this field, this is a perfect time to release all that's been healed and set those new intentions for the next energies wave that's going to be coming in. But this is when, after you do intense healing like this, you've shifted, you've moved a lot of intense density. So now you can create with light. You're going to be probably manifesting a lot faster than you've normally manifested. So be mindful of your thoughts, right? So instead of the DAMN word, say bless it, right? Because you want to bless something in your life and in your house. You don't want to curse these things, right? You really do have manifestation and power. We're spelling with our words. Every time we speak, we're weaving the fabric of our reality. We're spelling with our words, right? Think about that. So think about the words that are coming out of your mouth. Think about the things that you're thinking. You're going to be manifesting really fast because right now you've done all this beautiful work and all this healing and it's shifted. So now the universe is like, yeah, what do you want? Yeah, let me give you something. What do you want? So make sure you get what you want. Be very careful with your words. Be very specificity. The universe is specificity. I like to think of the universe as Amelia Bedelia. The children's book, Amelia Bedelia. She takes everything literal. So the universe is kind of like that. The universe is kind of like, oh, when you do like self-deprecating humor, the universe is like, oh, blink, 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 blink. Okay, sure. That's
And
what
so
you
it
want.
is.
So it is,
That's
right?
right.
So Amelia Bedelia, your words. Be specific with the universe, so that way you can create what you really want. Not this like just extra stuff that's all around the place.
Yeah, and I think some things, we've been through so much, I think, in this constellation, starting from clearing anything that's holding back. I loved that every time we did a constellation, a lot of your messages from the transmissions were also similar, which I thought was really cool.
Yep.
And I think a lot that has come up is now, like, we've stepped into the power, we've stayed in the light. So our goal for you guys is how are you going to keep yourself in the light, in the present? And it's going to look different for all of you. And we didn't want to do a lot of homework or outside work in this 21-day event because we really sensed that the people that we were calling in or were ready or needed this were not probably in a place where they were ready to do any of that. So we really wanted to help do the clearings, do the healings while you were in this little hive or cocoon. But now you're going to be back out in the world, and we want each of you are going to need to come up with what works best for you to stay in that present moment. So I think some thoughts, we could probably share some ideas with you. And a lot of it that I've learned is creating a daily practice or a daily routine. And as I said, that could be a little challenging for me. So any practice that you want to incorporate, start small. Like maybe you incorporate 1 minute of meditation every day, whatever that looks like. I was telling my mom, I'm like, people have told me, what can you do at work to get yourself back into the present moment? I'm like, I don't know. So they're like, when you're in the bathroom, can you stand for 1 minute in the mirror? Or when you're sitting on the potty, can you just be present for one moment, not be thinking about everything else that's going on? So those are things I try at work. Because we all go back to work, we're all like, oh gosh, I was feeling so good, and now I'm back at work and I don't want to be here. So we've got to start to shift those perspectives. However, they're going to come back in, those feelings are going to be there. So we want you to have the tools to say, oh, hey, anger, hey, annoyance, here you are. I can feel you right now, or I can't. What messages are you trying to tell me? So I really, and I work on this too, paying attention to what feelings are coming up and what they're trying to tell me. As Paige said, a lot of intention. So we really want to teach you to live with intention. What's your intention for the day? Can you set a small intention each day? And maybe that's just I want to get through the day and stay in a good mood, or I want to get through the day and I want to take a nap today. Maybe that's your intention.
Oh,
So
can I give you my intention, which is fun?
Yes.
Every morning I wake up and I say, how can the universe surprise and delight me today?
Ooh, I like that.
It's a fun game to play with the universe. And it sets the shape of my day that I'm going to have a fun day and the universe is going to give me some magical gifts. And at the end of the day, I try to end my day with my 3 favorite moments. I smiled when someone had that joke in the break room. That's what, it was a bad day, but I found that one moment that someone made me smile. Right. And then you have like, oh, and then, my daughter drew me a picture. So that's number 2. And let's see, number 3, my husband cleared the table after dinner. All right, I'll take those 3, whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start, my favorite thing to start the day with, and I even have it in my bathroom on like a little sign that I made. I got a little chalkboard from Target and I wrote, how can the universe surprise and delight me today?
Mm-hmm.
And it's in my bathroom. So as I'm brushing my teeth, I look at it and I'm like, I wonder what's going to happen today. What's the universe going to do?
The options are endless. I think another thing I've done before is set timers on my phone to go off every few hours. And I called it mindfulness. So that was my reminder if I need to have 1 minute of mindfulness, even if I'm sitting at my desk or whatever I'm doing, can I just be present in that moment with that action for 1 minute? And then I can go, if it goes away, that's fine. But I'm bringing it back to myself at least 3 times a day. I sit with Max at night and I ask him what his favorite moments are from the day. It doesn't always go well, but I'm like, okay, well, let's think of something we did like today. What's something that you did like at school today? That's becoming a rough.
And we can ask ourselves that about work. What at work today? What did go good?
Yeah.
I'm back now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Maybe we can ask ourselves what good thing about each coworker that we have impresses us.
Yeah, because I was going to say, even the people that we don't get along with there.
I was going to say the same thing. Find something, because every person is a reflection of us in some ways. So even if that person that annoys you, if you can find something core about them that's powerful, like I acknowledge they are powerful. I am powerful. So that reflects back. So I'm powerful and I see the power in them, right? So see the mirror reflection. So you can ask yourself, like, what is it about that person that triggers me? And then think, when was the first time I noticed that? And then you can say, when was the first time I ever felt like that in my life? Where is that? Because if you like, for example, if I get triggered by someone, I'm usually like, all right, when was the first time I felt like this in my life? And I try to think back to my childhood or this, like, oh, I remember when I was outside playing mud pies and my mom, yeah. And I remember when I was wiping my hands on that late, I don't even remember her, but I was wiping my hands and she got so angry at me and started yelling at me. I felt like that then. So what is the connection between that moment with the mud pies and right now? I'm like, how can I clear, cancel, and delete this? How can we get rid of this? But
So you are telling me that I can't ignore it?
It's better not to, because if something's coming up, it's asking to be healed.
And that maybe that's the process. If you can't do it in that moment, then you say, hey, anger, I feel that for this person. I'll look into you later for the messages. And just in that moment, I'm going to send them a ball of Reiki, or I'm going to say, thank you, God, for bringing this person in my life. So
I am the person who has had temper tantrums at work. Like, I've literally had temper tantrums at work, and I've had to tell people, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, but I need a break so I can process my feelings. Can you give me that space? And they usually will do that, because I'll be like, I know I'm not reacting well in this moment. And I know that I can't process this conversation because I'm feeling a lot of intense feelings. And I just ask them, will you give me the space to process this? Or I can actually say in that moment, I'm feeling really upset when you're saying this. It reminds me of when I was a little girl and my mom used to yell at me if I didn't wash the table the way that she wanted me to wash the table, which was very specific. And I'm just needing to process this right now. Can we table this conversation and come back to it later so I can process this a little bit? And then usually they'll go, oh, yeah, cool. Because it kind of shifts that energy, just acknowledging that it comes from somewhere else. And I've done that. I've actually had, I'm not kidding, I've had temper tantrums in office buildings with many, many people. But I'm very open with my feelings. So I'll usually just have my temper tantrums in public and be like, I am having a hard time dealing with you and I cannot process this. Can you give me the space? And usually they just look at me like, okay, what? Yeah. Take your time, lady. But when it comes back, we're on it. And I have taken breaks with people at work for months. And after that, they don't talk to me until I start engaging in conversation with them again. And so it's a little weird to kind of put it out there, but it does work, you know? And it's hard when we're feeling these intense feelings. And honestly, when they've got coworkers, you're spending 8 hours or more a day with essentially strangers. Of course, you're going to get triggered by these people. You didn't really plan on being in a relationship for 8 hours a day with this person, right? And you can't really get out of it with that person. So the thing is you just have to remember there's no coincidences. If we're on this path, we believe that everything is a reflection for our learning and our healing. So you have to think, how is this person a teacher for me? Because whoever it is, whether it's your spouse or your children or your coworker, if they are triggering you and upsetting you, they're showing a mirror reflection and they're probably annoying, but their higher self is there to be a teacher for you. And if
Mhm.
you can look at them not as that person, but as their higher self, be like, what is their higher self trying to teach me right now?
Mhm.
What
And
is their higher, what can I learn from this situation? How can I grow?
and
And
as you,
sometimes,
I was gonna say, as you talked about that circle that feels like it's the same mundane thing every day, then really as you're going up or you're up leveling, you're gonna start
Mhm,
a little bit differently. And either it's not gonna bother you anymore, or those people, as you shift, other people fall away. They either up with you or they don't bother you anymore, or sometimes they leave, you know.
mhm,
So that's not as the rest of the environment's uplifted with you, then they don't feel comfortable there anymore. So maybe somebody leaves. So then you're like, oh wow, thank you for that lesson. And now it feels different in here. I didn't know how it really felt. I didn't know how this was affecting me. So it takes a while. And I think sometimes it takes a little bit to realize why that person was there. And maybe it's a while, like a long while before you're like, oh, they really brought, I mean, one of my coworkers, that's how I learned what narcissism was. And I'm like, it was the craziest thing I've ever been through. And
mhm.
now, oh, okay. Cause now I can pick that out in other people. And I'm like, I don't do that anymore.
Hmm.
Well, do you think that in some cases that that person is only there to teach me the lesson, or can it be a collective? Because I work in an office, can they be there
Oh,
to
it's a
teach the
collective
collective?
for sure.
And so they'll act like that until, because I do, oh, I hate to say this now, but I do actually just try not to look at it that much anymore, because I tried to fix it and I
Mhm,
couldn't fix it.
mhm.
Mhm.
So I just try not to acknowledge it that much
That's
anymore,
beautiful.
because they actually get the feeling of, I believe that they get a feeling of power of making everybody feel miserable.
Mhm,
So I
Because
but
they sense you stepping up,
mhm.
right? People say you're like, your Jesus irritates my demons or that. So as you, it's the same thing as the others in the staying in the light, because the light is threatening to them. So as they sense you getting in their light, they're like, oh no, gotta knock that down. And so their ego like, oh no, you know what? You did this or you did this. So they can't allow you to be in your light because they don't have their power.
well, I try to bring her into my safe space and
Um,
cleanse her every day.
Don't work on other people, because especially without their permission, because it can feel like a psychic attack, which can cause more disruption from that soul from a soul
Mm-hmm.
level from that person. um, Especially right now, as a collective, we're all ascending. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I've definitely learned is not to give energy to people unless I say, do I have your permission to work with your energy fields? And they say yes. And if they say yes, I will work with them. But if they, like my mom says no, my mom wants nothing to do with it and she needs it. But even though
Mm-hmm.
she's my mom, I'm not going to send her energy or healing because she doesn't want it. And it feels like a psychic attack to someone that doesn't understand what's going on. If they're so closed off, even when someone's trying to help them, if they're not willing to change, if they're not willing to get that help, turns into something that they need to start battling. And then that just increases more trauma for them. So,
Mm-hmm.
what I always do is, in that situation, you can just cleanse the room and the space between you with the violet flame. We talked about that on our
Mm-hmm.
last Zoom, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
violet flame is cleansing and purifying and freeing. So nobody's going to feel trapped in, but nobody's in a safe space. Nobody's in a bubble. That soul can do whatever they want with the violet flame, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it transmutes and clears the space between you. So you're keeping your space clear.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I would definitely say just just be very grounded. You know, when you're around someone that causes disharmony in the world, that's when you take that lesson to be as grounded as possible. And again, just back to our very first Zoom, all you need is 3 deep breaths, 3 very deep breaths from the center, and send your roots down. And within 3 breaths, you can be completely grounded. Like Brittany said, find, 1 minute here, 1 minute there, 3 deep breaths. If you can go in the bathroom and have 3 deep breaths, or if you can walk away to a filing cabinet with your back turned to everyone and do 3 deep breaths, by the time you turn around, you can be completely grounded. If that's your intention for those 3 deep breaths. And just keep focusing your energy, ground your energy, and clear the space with violet flame. Like, in an office, you can do it in different ways. Like people don't have to, you don't have to be like, oh, here we go. Here's the lamp. I'm gonna do this. You can, do it, and like you can clear your hands, and like you can just kind of like, kind of just hold your hands like that. People don't even have to know what you're doing. Like you don't, just be like, oh, ha ha ha, here I am sitting here. You're gonna eat your lunch. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, I don't know. No,
Well,
nothing.
I will have to tell you that at Christmas time, I gave her a chakra bracelet. Okay. And she said,
How'd she
oh,
react?
I always wanted one of these.
Oh.
And I went, oh, well, good, because this will calm your energies. And she said, okay. And so I was hoping that it worked. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
Well,
so.
It might have worked for her, and you might not even realize. It might be, you and I have a similar situation. There was a coworker that completely triggered me all the time. She loved me more than anything. She wanted to be my best friend. She wanted to hang out with me. She was always trying to get like information and healing from me. And I was like, would you like a session at $60 an hour? I can't really do this right now. But she was a teacher for me in so much because she had such powerful energy and ours didn't mesh. Like for me, it was like it was hard for me to be around her. And it was interesting to me because towards the end, I realized how much she absolutely adored me. Like, I was like, oh, interesting. I had a different idea of our relationship. Come to find out, she loved me and she wanted to spend all this time with me. And so never underestimate your gifts, right? And if you're doing this work, she might be attracted to you because you are doing this work, but she just might not have the words for it, right? She might not know what it means. If you keep doing the work for yourself and keep grounding yourself and keep feeling that energy, like Brittany said, she's going to either evolve with you or she's, the big old adage is, don't be afraid to plant seeds, If you can always plant a seed. You'd be like, well, I do Reiki. If you ever want a session, I'd be happy to do that. I do that for a living, but honor yourself and say, I could get paid for it. Be like, I could give you a discount if you want a Reiki session, if you want to try it. Or you can say, if you don't want to do it yourself, you can say, my daughter does healing sessions, or I was just in this wonderful group with, Paige and Brittany, and, I can recommend my daughter or Paige to you. You can just kind of say, plant seeds that way and kind of see how she does. But again, you might not even realize that she's making huge strides and growing spiritually and emotionally, but she's seeing them and feeling them. But maybe it's maybe the way that she's acting in work, you don't necessarily see that, but just keep, violet flame, grounding your energy and, planting those seeds. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Because also giving her, we have to remember she may not want or need in this life what we want for her.
Exactly. Yep. Very true.
Say energetically, you are healed, whole, and complete, or I love and accept this person exactly as they are, because you have to give her the permission to do what she needs to do. And that may be nothing like you think it should be. Same with in your life. And I think I always say that has been my hardest lesson, because I think, wow, all this stuff is so amazing. Why doesn't everybody want it? like my life is completely different than it was 10 years ago, but
Mhm.
have to leave the other person where they are because they're on their own time, their own healing, their own karma. And we sometimes don't have any idea what that is.
Mhm.
That's
Exactly.
truth.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we're coming along the hour. So I'm thinking, Brittany, we should make our announcements and then go into a closing ceremony. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
So Brittany and I were kind of figuring out how we were going in our next steps. And um, this has worked so perfectly with the energy coming up before the spring equinox that we've decided that we are going to do another one of these 21-day quantum healing sessions in June, moving up into the portal of the summer solstice. So between June 1st and June 21st, we will do another 21-day quantum healing session for everyone in this group. The price will be $333. If you bring friends or anyone out, the price will be $444, just to more adequately match the amount of energy that Brittany and I are moving through this 21 days, which really is a lot for two healers. For 21 days, it's a lot of energy and it's a lot of movement and it's a lot of holding space. So we are going to be raising our prices just to more honor the work that we're doing. But of course, you are all very special because you joined this journey with us for the first 21 days. So you're all welcome and invited. And please, please, please share the word and spread the vibe. We've also decided, and we're haven't 100% finalized the dates of this, but we're going to do a once a month Zoom session where we'll do, a theme and a meditation and distant Reiki once a month. April will have one and May will have one before we move into that full 21-day quantum session. So for those of you that are thinking, oh no, I wish this wouldn't end, we do have options so we can continue to be in your field and support you. I also know that I am an energy healer, and I have private sessions that you can book with me, as you can with Brittany. We'll both send information about one-on-one sessions with us, should you like to book with us. Anything else we should add, Brittany?
I think that is pretty much it, unless anybody has any questions.
Okay.
Well, I have a question.
Mhm.
Okay, so even though we are going to be closing tonight,
Mhm. Yes.
we can still go back and listen over and over and over to
Oh.
everything that we had, and it's still
Yes.
good, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Those
good.
replay, and there's a lot of energy that's in those replays. So thank you so much for bringing that up, March. Yes, there's a lot of energy that's in those constellations. They're yours, right? All the energy that's in that, any time from now, there's a year from now, 2 years from now, if you start hearing, that light language in your head, put that transmission on and listen to it, right? If you're starting to think about staying in the light or something pops in your head, absolutely go back and listen to them at any time. Absolutely.
Right, perfect.
Is just because this space is closed doesn't mean the healing that you're doing for yourself will end. So
Exactly.
Still moving energy, things are still going to be coming up for you. So it doesn't mean the healing stops, just the space that we've created together will close, but your personal healing will continue.
Absolutely. Yep. This is a beautiful celebration of all of the wonderful work and transmuting and transforming and clearing that we've done over the last 21 days. And then moving forward, you guys get to integrate that and celebrate it and move forward and, definitely continue this process. It never ends, on the healing path. We're constantly healing others and healing ourselves. And as we upgrade, so does our clients. We're all kind of in that same field together, kind of moving through it. Absolutely. All right. So then what I'll do is I'll just take a moment And if we all just want to ground our energy, and we're going to kind of take those 3 deep breaths that we talked about earlier. And we're going to imagine and send our grounding cords down to the center of the earth. And we're going to allow ourselves to connect and expand with the energy of Gaia, Pachamama. Thank you so much to Earth, to all of our guides, ancestors, family, relations, and for all of our guides and ascended masters and totems who have come in to assist us in this beautiful healing journey. Thank you, North, South, East, West, for creating this space and this field for us. Thank you, Earth, Air, Fire, and Sky. Thank you to all of our higher selves and our higher souls who stepped in to create this beautiful collaboration and collective of energy healing over the last 21 days. We want to say with our deepest gratitude, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for all of the healing that has taken place. As we close this circle, we ask that the energy that has been transformed and healed continue to be transmuted to the highest vibration and the highest and purest white light through all space and time. We want to call in all of our guides in this beautiful circle field right now to celebrate with us, to celebrate the healings we've received and given, to allow ourselves to celebrate in the newness of our vibration that we have come into and embraced over these last 21 days. Thank you for the healing. Thank you for the teachings and the wisdom. Thank you for the guidance and support. Thank you for the love and the knowing. We ask that this circle be closed from the north, east, south, west, earth, air, fire, and water. We thank and honor our guides and angels and ascended masters as we open this field and close it, elevating the energy up for transmutation, the violet flame for the highest and purest good of all. Aho, to all of our family, friends, and relations. Thank you so very much. Amen.
Thank you.
All right, my friends, this concludes our 21-day quantum healing session. It has been an absolute honor to work with all of you. I wish you all so many blessings, and please stay in touch.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.